Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel today. Today, I want to talk about taking kind of a what they call a MacGyver approach, or kind of a do-it-yourselfer, kind of build your own custom lure approach to fishing lures. And what I'm using is nothing more than a basic paper clip and a couple of jig heads. So I got to messing around today because it was kind of a slow day, and I thought, you know what? Let me think about what I could do with, you know, with paperclip and some jig heads and see if I could come up with something. And what gave me the idea of it was I was messing around today earlier with some spinner baits that I have, and I'll pull one out here. And basically, with a spinner bait, you have a piece of bent wire that's like spring steel, and it's attached to the jig head here. And then you have your hook at the end of the jig head, and sometimes they'll add a blade, sometimes they'll be one type of blade or another. But I got to thinking, what if we just took a simple paper clip and bend it in different shapes to see if we can come up with some ideas? So first one I came up with was this: take it and kind of twist it in to create a loop, and then and then at the bottom you can kind of bend it down, and then you could provide two spots to where you could hook two jig heads up, so you could actually turn this into a dual jig head rig, run your fishing line through there, and then just bend these wires back around to kind of lock the jig heads into place. And you could make a dual rig for running through the water, putting like two plastic bodies on them. Another option would be maybe something along the lines of if you just wanted to open up a paper clip to use it to store your jig heads to help preventing from getting tangled in your tackle box, maybe doing something like this and then just bending the ends up. You could string 5 or 6 jig heads on a paper clip, and then when you need to use one or grab one, just slide it right, unbend the end, slide it off, and then the other ones are kind of stored, out of harm's way. Or if you wanted to even build something like a triple rig of some sort, let's say you wanted to put like a spacer. And a good example of that would be like these little. Let me see if I can show this here. Uh, a lot of uh, a lot of this hardware that comes on spinner baits is available, and what I'm referring to is this little plastic piece. It's kind of like a little plastic bead. You could use something like that plastic bead, which you can get at your tackle shops, and you could actually fit it in between the jig heads, or a couple of plastic beads in between each jig head here, and then maybe there, and that way you could space them apart so you're not going to be tangling with each other. If you wanted to create like a multi jig head rig to throw, kind of like your own version of like an Alabama rig or something, using a paper clip or some wire. But it's just some different ideas to play around with. And that's really kind of the fun of fishing. Sometimes you just take something that's already existing, and you make your own modifications and say, well, let me try it and see how it works. A lot of guys, it's not uncommon for guys to run two jig heads on a line. They'll just usually tie one 8 or 12 inches above the other one and do it that way. But this kind of gives you an option of maybe creating the look of some schooling bait fish. In other words, putting them swimming in the same plane, in the same area. So it looks like they're doing it. Or even if you were to bend this, let's say a wire like this, into kind of a U shape, it may almost look like 2 or 3 bait fish feeding on something small. So their attention would be diverted into bigger fish. It might be predatory fish, might swoop in and thinking, okay, I've got an easy meal. Probably they're not paying attention, and I can just come in and chomp on them. So things like that might be something to consider when you have some spare time, you're just messing around. But paper clips and jig heads, it's really kind of you're only limited by your creativity and your imagination, and who knows, you may next come up with the next big thing, as far as fishing lures go. So anyway, thanks again for watching, and get out on the water when you can. The bite has been tough late in January, as of late, with the colder weather, and the water temps finally really starting to cool off down here in Kentucky and other parts of the country, I'm sure as well, are experiencing that. But anyway, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.